Hey guys, hello and welcome to yet another installment of our tutorial series where we're showing you how you can clone any online store using just Divi and WooCommerce. My name's Roby here from the Divi Engine team, and today what we're going to dive into is adding some conditional display logic to a few elements on our site. Now, when you look on my screen here, you see this Black Friday is almost here bar with a countdown to when Black Friday will start. Now, this is a hypothetical date. You can put any date for any type of sale in there that you choose, but this is something that will only show up prior to the actual sale. And if we go down the page here a bit, we've got this big banner here that will be showing as soon as the Black Friday sale or whatever sale starts. I'm going to show you the conditional logic behind that and how to do exactly this. And it won't show outside of a specified time period. Then lastly, I want to show you guys something here. We're going to add conditional logic that will make an offer for the clients when they have visited the cart, but they have abandoned it. They haven't completed the checkout process. So if I go to my cart here, and we're also going to fix this column here on the right-hand side, don't you worry. But when you visited the cart and you go to checkout, proceed to checkout, and we've been on this page, let's see what happens when I go back. We're going to give it a couple seconds here. And then you see this offer pop up. And this will only happen when they've added a product to their cart and then also went to the checkout but didn't finish the checkout process. We create a coupon code that we offer them here for extra 10% off if they go check out now. So guys, that's a lot of me talking. Why don't we just get right to it and get started with the first step. Okay guys, so to get the ball rolling here, what we need to do is we're going to start out with this banner at the top that will only show while we're still in the planning phases of doing the sale. So to announce it and so people are aware of when it starts. So we're going to jump into the backend of our Divi install here. I'm going to get over to the Divi Theme builder. Now what we need to do is we need to modify the existing global header that's there. So we open that up. And again, that green color indicates that it is a global header. Now what we need to do is add a new section here. We're going to make it a full row section. Actually, no, we're not. We are going to make it a 2-column row. And what we're going to do is we will go and adjust some of the sizing settings. We want it to be full width. We're going to make it all the way 2560 width there. And then also what we'll do, just to make sure that we can see it nice and clear, we're going to give it a background color of black because Black Friday. And then we shall quickly just add in our modules that we'll be using. So the first one we'll be using is the countdown timer. And you'll see that it adds a ton of stuff on here. We're going to delete the title out because we don't really want that in there. And here is where you'll set the date. By default, it'll pick something 30 days in advance. For the purpose of this, I'm just going to leave it as is. And then for the background color, we'll make it nice and transparent so that it is only the blackness there. So we're going to need to adjust some of the spacing here. And what we'll do is we'll go to spacing. And we'll just give it 0 top and bottom padding. See, that moves it up quite nicely there. And that should be at that for this portion. Now we're going to add the text here. So we'll just add another text module. And, you know, we can come back and reference what we've done here. We can even go in and edit and see what we've done, but this is what we want. So I'll just copy this text. Black Friday is almost here. I'll add this to my module and then that'll display there, but we need to do a couple styling thingies here. So we're going to go into text. We want that nice and ultra bold. We're going to capitalize it and we'll make the text white so it stands out. And we will certainly center that text. Now we need to kind of figure out how big we want the text to be. And I think maybe 31 is a good size. Let's see what we've done previously here. Yeah, maybe this is a little bit larger, but I think that looks fine. Some of the spacing issues we're seeing here is because of the padding that the actual module has here, the column. So let's click out. Oh, I'm still in my text settings here. Let's click out of that. We're going to tell it, well, let's first drag this up maybe. Oh, come on. Okay, so we'll just go to the module view. Sometimes that's easier. Since this will be at the top, I'll put that there. I can probably go to Visual Builder again now. And now I can edit the padding settings here. So the first thing I'll do is go to spacing. We'll put 0 padding for top and bottom. That is working a little bit better. And then maybe what we'll do is also make sure that with the sizing, we equalize the column heights, because what we need to do also is we need to make sure that these items are centered in the middle vertically. And for that, we'll utilize snippet number 2 that we've used prior. And let me go ahead and copy and paste my snippet number 2 here. Copy, and then I'll come back in here. And if you recall, we need to put that in the column that houses the element that we want to center and put it in that advanced tab. There we go. Then we'll go to column 2 and paste it in there. Great. Now we see that there's still a little bit of space above this text element here, and I'm going to show you how to remove that. Okay, so to remove this top part is actually pretty easy. All we need to do is edit this countdown timer, go to advanced and to custom CSS, and we'll scroll down to the title, because remember we left that title empty. All we do is add snippet number 17 and put display none in there. And you see how it kind of equals it out right there. And that's looking pretty good. I'm happy with the way this looks. And again, that was snippet 17. We're going to jump around here a little bit, maybe with the snippets, because we're all using old ones and new ones, so we're mixing it all up. So, but everything will be detailed specifically in the text document that goes along with this also. But so we basically have the layout here. So if we save this really quick, that's been saved now. And I go to my website here on the front end. That's the back end. Let me delete that. WP admin out. You can see that it's right here. But the way it's set right now, it's going to always show on the screen, no matter what time of the year, whatever it is. We only want it certain times. So the way we do that is we add some conditional logic. So you're on the back end. Let's open up this row. Let's go to advanced and then conditions. And this is where the conditional display logic lives. We need to add 2 conditions. One for where this will show before a certain date, and one for when it will show after a certain date. So that creates that start and end date. So let's do the start. And you'll see a bunch of different options here, and we'll use a few throughout this tutorial series. But the one that we're interested in right now is date and time. We're going to say we want this to only show from December 4th. It's December 3rd right now. So I'm going to put, well, let's put the 5th just in case. I'll say promo start, just for indicating the beginning. And we want to make sure that it says is after here. So we add that in. And then we need to put the end also. So we'll use the same date time. We're going to say it's going to end on the 13th, for example. And here it says is after. We need to change that to is before. And then we'll scroll down and say admin label, promo, end. And this is just the advertising. We'll say okay. Now there's one more thing that you need to take note of, is that display if any condition is true. You want to set this to both, because otherwise what's going to happen if it's before or after, which is pretty much always, it will always display it. So when I save this, and I save this again here on the back end, and if I come here to our website, I refresh the page, it's gone, because guess what? The promo hasn't started yet. But just to show you, so you know, I'm going to go back in really quick. I'm going to change my start condition. I'm going to make it the 2nd of December. Then we'll save it. And then we'll go back to the front end, refresh. And now it's there again. So you see how the conditional logic is working. We've got up sale promo announcement header there. And next step, we're going to go ahead and add that big sales banner. This one on my completed site here. I'm going to add that in there. So stay tuned. Next step is coming up. Okay, guys. So continuing on, we need to build out this big sales banner that shows up right below the header of our site and in between the actual products that are available for purchase. So again, we're going to jump into the backend of our Divi site here. And we're going to go to the home page. So we go to our pages and we go to the home page we created many steeps ago. It feels like years at this point. Wow. And let's go visual here. And we see our page here. I believe beneath this section, because otherwise it's part of that top section. We want it to be here. We're going to do a double column row. And we'll add a text element in the first one. And for now, we'll just close that out. We'll drag this back to the top. And then we'll get going with building this one out. Now, we're going to be adding an image to this. And Pexels is a good resource for finding some royalty-free images. I highly recommend it. And if you type in Black Friday, you'll find a whole host of different images and so forth that you can choose. But I have a specific one that I selected, and I'll add the URL to the actual description of the video and in the text post. But I like this one. So I saved this one to my computer already, or you could do so again, however you choose. And then what we'll do is we're going to actually set that as the section background. So, oh, not section, sorry, the row background. So we select that, we go to background, select the image, and then we're going to add it in. Now mine's not uploaded on this site yet. I've got the image right here, it's uploaded, and I add it in, and there she is in all of her glory. We're going to add some text here on the page that I am going to let you know. And what we want to do though here is we want to make sure that this thing stays a certain size, but we'll get to that in one moment. So let's go to the text, and then let's look at the text I use here. I said save with our biggest discount of the year. So I'm copying that over. I'm just going to replace this in there. And that doesn't look all that impressive yet, now does it? Now, one of the ways that I'm going to be able to differentiate my text here and give it some other features is to just go ahead and add some HTML inline styling to the word biggest here. But let's quickly style the rest of the text. We're going to go to text here. We're going to make it nice, big, and bold. So we're going to go with our ultra bold again. We want to make it white. And then what we also are going to want to do is increase the size a bit, maybe 31. No, maybe 41. That's getting better. And then you also want to adjust the line height to stop that overlap there. That's kind of important sometimes, you know, like you're working on a site, and this happens a lot of times when you go and try to get something to be mobile or responsive. And this is just, you know, a good rule of thumb to do when you see the overlapping text. A lot of time you can kind of pull out your hair with what is going on here. But yeah, that's just a quick tip for you. And what that 1 EM means, it just creates a spacing in relation to the size of the actual font there. So gives you a little bit of a hint there. Now, I mentioned we want to change this word biggest to kind of look a little bit different. But first, let me just space my text the way that I want it. Actually, that is exactly how I want it, spaced out. So let's go here. You're going to add a tag called span. And this is just kind of multi-use tag that you can use sometimes. And for the inline text, you just type style equals and apostrophe, and then you are going to type in the value that you want. So maybe we'll say font size, and we're going to set that equal to 51. Let's see how that does, and we will adjust that all in a second to make sense. We just close that tag with the /span also. And okay, so that's not very impressive yet. So let's go with 61. So yeah, 61 doesn't work. It's actually, I'm going to set it to EM. So it again works with the font size around it, and that makes it so nice and big. We're also going to want to set the color to be a little bit different. And the way we do that is as simple as adding another value here after the semicolon with color. And then we're going to paste in the color of our dark blue, which is at 253746. Okay, so that's already looking like it's kind of popping a little bit more. But you see that the spacing below this word and above it is a little bit different. We'll fix that right now. And we're going to use that line height property again. And we're going to set it to 1 EM. And then you'll see that immediately that kind of evens it all out. And that to me is looking actually pretty good right now. If we look at the finished product, maybe we want to boost up that text size a little bit. So why don't we go to design here? Let's go crazy. Let's make it 61. Bam. Okay, that's looking pretty nice. That I can deal with. And then we need to add some spacing also, just so that we get this nice spacing, getting it a little bit more to the middle of the page. So we will just go to the spacing tab, close this text one, spacing. And off the top of my head, I think maybe 45, top and bottom. And then maybe some left also, just so it gets to the middle of the page a little. And now you can see that image is displaying quite nicely and that this will work pretty good. And it's pretty much the exact same thing as we have here. One thing that will change is this section's width, maybe. So we'll just go into the row settings. We'll go to design. I'm gonna go to sizing. And maybe we're gonna go with 90% for the width. And then we'll just make this be full width at 2560. And now it really pops on the page. I think that looks really good. And we're done building this section out. But we need to do one more thing here. Remember I said that we want this to only display during our sale period. So we need to add conditional logic to this section again. But let me just quickly show you. If I save this right now, and I'm back on the front end of my site, I refresh, it displays no matter what. We still have this one up here, but remember we did that intentionally just so that we can see what we're doing, but you will set those conditional options to your liking. I'm coming back to the back here, and let's fix that really quick with the conditional settings that we need for this. And we will scroll down. We're gonna hover over this row, go into the settings, advanced, conditions, and now we need to add a start time and an ending time for the sale. So we're going to utilize that same date time logic that we had here. Let me actually save and reload that. It is not having a good time with that option. Let me try that again. Open this one. Come over here. Advanced. Okay. Adding the condition, date time, and we want to first show that it won't display during a certain period, and then we'll adjust it so that we can see it the whole time while we're working so that we know it's up. But the important thing here is to teach you how to do this yourself. So I'm going to say it's from the 5th, and we're going to say is after, right? And then we'll say sale start. Make sure that it's enabled. Then we add that one, and then we need to go add that second one. We're gonna just put arbitrary 13 in there. We'll say sale, and then before you're quick and just click OK. Make sure that it says before, and now only between that period, this particular sale banner should show as long as you got it. We gotta make sure that both conditions are true. Otherwise, it'll just show always. So let's go up and let's save this page. And then we'll hop in the front seat, refresh our page, and it doesn't show. But we knew it wouldn't because we set the start date in the future. So let's quickly go here and go to the advanced section, conditions. And you even see when you hover these conditions, it shows you which ones are active. And you can even do it down to the hour, which is pretty cool. But let's change the start to the 2nd of December. Let's save that. And then let's see what happens on the front when we refresh it, and hopefully it's there, and it's there. Whew. Okay, guys, well, that's pretty cool stuff. So now we've added 2 dynamic elements to our site pertaining to a sale that works with conditional display logic, one of the newest features in Divi, which I think is amazing. The power of this is just crazy. And if you guys recall, when we built out this header even, we added some conditional display logic to show certain elements based on whether the user's logged in or not. We're deepening that knowledge now, and that's awesome stuff. Now, the last thing we're going to be adding is in the next step is that little pop-up on the left-hand side here that if they abandon their cart, which is another powerful tool to get people to buy, which is the goal of this e-commerce site and of this course. So stick with me. We're getting to the next part right now. Okay, guys, so now we're getting to one of the juicier bits where we're going to be creating this abandoned cart offer that pops up on the left-hand side that is easy to close out. And this is a really good tool for e-commerce sites, especially during sales when people are adding things to the cart, they go into the checkout page, but they didn't check out, so you didn't make the sale. So you want to get them to be a retargeted customer by really making them another offer. And incredibly, you can do this with Divi and these dynamic display options. So why don't we get cracking? We're going to break this down into 3 sections. We're going to build a container. We're going to add the content in there, and then we're going to add a bit of code that makes all of this happen. So let's go to the back end of our site, and we're back on our home page here. What we're going to do is we'll scroll all the way to the bottom. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a new section, and we're just going to add a single column row. Now, what we want to do here is we want to work with a section first. So let's not add any modules to it. So let's just go here to the visual builder so we can visually see what we're doing, and go to the section settings. Now, first thing, we want to make sure we set the size for this. So we're going to go into the sizing here, and the max width will be 500 pixels. Now, what we want to do so we can continually see what we're doing, but also so we get this effect. Let me refresh this page one more time so you see what the final product will look like, and it'll pop out here. We're going to add this border around it and give it a nice like shadow so it pops out from the page. So let's go ahead and scroll to the border section, and we'll add a border that's about 15 pixels wide, I think is good. And we're going to want to make sure that we set that to a color that makes sense. And I like this orange color that we have in our palette. It doesn't get used much throughout the page, so it makes it pop a little bit more, be a little bit more relevant to the user and catches the eye more. We're going to add a little bit of a shadow also to give it a little bit more depth. And we'll go with this first option here. But again, we're going to go ahead and adjust the strength of this blur, so it reaches a little further, lifts us a little bit more off the page. And we can give it this orange color, but we'll of course adjust the opacity a bit so it's not too overbearing, to maybe 20%. Let's see. Yeah, maybe 30, 40, 40. I like 40. And we'll keep it at 40 there. And that is that. Now we want to do one more thing, which is that slide in effect that we have. And we do that by going to the animations. I would say slide in. The default, it comes from the center, but we're going to slide it in right. And you notice how we had that little bit of a delay. We set that right here. 3000 milliseconds means 3 seconds essentially, and it'll slide in very simply. Very easy to do. Now, of course, we need to go add some conditions, and then we're also going to be adding a CSS class to this. And that's what's going to control, if you come back here, this close button, because we're going to add JavaScript that when you click that button, it closes out like that. So custom CSS will be the first, well, not the custom, the CSS classes. And then we'll add that CSS class, and we're going to call this de-popup-promo. And that is just an arbitrary class name that we came up with because it's with the code that we've used here. So that is good like that. And then now let's get into the conditions here. When do we want this thing to show up, right? So let's go to adding a condition. I'll show you guys. Here, when you scroll down, you can find different settings that pertain to different things. But the one we want to really look at is here. We want to see whether there's any contents in the cart. So if the cart has products, and that's basically all it's checking. So cart has product is the name that we'll give it. You can give it any name. It's going to be enabled. And there we go. Okay, only if the cart has a product. Now, what page do we want them to visit when there's been a cart in the product? We'll add here, and then we'll say page visit. And of course, that's going to be the specific page, the checkout page. And then we can say visited checkout. So we also want to make sure we say both conditions are true. Now let's think about this for a second, just one more time. We want to make sure that this box displays only when the user has previously added an item to the cart, but also visited the checkout page. Otherwise, we might be bothering people with another ad. It could also be offering extra 10% to somebody that we don't want to offer it to. This is specifically targeting those people that have went to the checkout page but have not finished the checkout process. So with that is the end of this outside of the container. But now we need to add that little closing X icon. So let's go ahead and do that. The way we do this is we have a single column row here. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a blurb, or actually an icon module, because previously Divi did not have an icon module, but with one of the recent updates, we have icon modules, which is awesome. But before we do that, let's just quickly change the container here a little bit. And what we're going to do is in the single column row section, we're going to go to design and then sizing. And we're going to use a custom gutter width of 1. And then we're going to set our width to 100%. And then what we also want to do is we want to change the padding, so the spacing on this, to have 0 top and bottom padding, because we want that icon to sit nice and snug in that top right corner. And we're going to show you exactly how we do that. But we also need to go to advanced first and do that positioning. I want to make sure that the position of this is absolute within the container. And we want to give it a nice high Z index so that it lays above the other content on the page. This is very important. And then we'll finish that. Now we go ahead and we add in the icon module. Previously, you could have used a blurb module. But what we're going to do is we're going to use the new icon module. There we see that big old icon in there. That doesn't make much sense for a close icon. I think this one works much better. So all we need to do now is style this. So you go to the design tab, icon. I'm going to make it the same orange as the outside. But I think the icon is maybe a little large. Let's go with 40. That's a little bit less intrusive. We want to make sure that we set the alignment to right. And now you can see that it's fitting right snug there where it belongs. And we need to add another class for this, for that code we're adding a little bit later, which is going to be called de-pop-up-promo. So it's very similar to the one we just used in the previous little bit of CSS class that we added. So very easy to remember, and click OK. So now I told you we're breaking this down into 3 sections. On to the next section where we're going to be building the content of this. All right, guys, so we're getting into the home stretch here where all we need to do is add the contents that we have here over on our one that we're still busy building out. So the way we do this, we're just going to add a new single column row. And then what we're going to put in is we're going to put in a text module. Now you see that takes up a little bit of space. Now you can put in whatever text you like here. For me, I can conveniently go copy and paste the demo site that I did already for this and go pop it in. And basically all we're doing is we're saying, hey, you can get an extra 10% off if you go ahead and check out now. So I want to make this first line pop a little. So I'm going to make that a H2 tag, and I'll just close that. So it's a H2 heading. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to change that heading tag a little bit and just make it nice and bold so it stands out on the page. And maybe I'll just even make it a little bit larger, maybe 31. And if you compare it to what we've done here, that kind of gets into the same zone here. And I think that looks pretty decent for what we're trying to attempt here. Now we want to add that extra line there for the coupon code, and that's easily done. We add yet another text module. And then we'll just delete this out and we'll say use code extra 10 off, or whatever your coupon code is that you've created on the back end of your site. Now you notice how I typed that in lowercase. Maybe you want to go ahead and just say, yeah, in the text settings, everything to upper. Probably makes sense to center this. But now we want that border around it, and we'll change the sizing and the color of the text a little bit. So let's just make that orange also. Size 18, I think, is good. And for that border, very easily, we go down to border. We set a border width of 1 pixel. We're going to set the color to orange. and then we're going to make it dashed. Now, one more thing we're going to want to do is play with the spacing here a little bit, just to give that text a little bit of breathing room on the top and bottom. So maybe what we'll do is we'll add some padding at the top and bottom of 10 pixels. And that is looking pretty awesome so far. And then we're almost done now of this section. We just need to add the button that will take them to the checkout. So we just go and type in button, select it. And right now it says click here. It says, let's just change that to say checkout now. And then for the link, again, we're going to use some of the dynamic settings here built into Divi. We're going to go ahead and just say select a page link. Then we can select our page that we want to go to. We're going to say checkout, check that, and then that. And there we've built out a little slide in section. It's all ready. 2 more things need to happen. 2 little blocks of codes need to be added. And we're going to do that right now in the next step. All right, folks, we're here in the home stretch. All we need to do now is to make sure that this section stays fixed on the bottom left-hand side. So we go to the advanced tab settings here for this section, position, fixed, and then bottom left. Now it'll stay on that bottom left-hand corner the whole time when it is visible. Now, as far as closing this out, when the time is right, we need to add 2 sections of 2 little blocks of code. So let's just go to the module view just for simplicity. And let me delete those code modules that were there for a second. And we're going to add the code module. We're going to go ahead and open that up. And now the code module that you want to use, or the code you want to use with this module, it's very simple. It is one of the ones that will be linked in this article in the Divi engine post for the text version of this tutorial. And it's to be snippet number 15, 15. I'm copying mine right now. I'm going to paste it in there. But first, I want to make sure that I put it between 2 style tags, because what we're adding here is some CSS. So, whoops. Let me just go back and copy that again. Paste that in there, and there we go. Now what the CSS does, that little X in the top right corner, it is going to make sure that it turns into a cursor so that when you're hovering it, you know that, oh, this does something. I can click this thing. So let's say okay to that. And then we'll add the second little snippet, which basically it's going to add the JavaScript required that is going to close that that module when the X is pressed, so that it's not on the screen the whole time. It's not intrusive. And as we know with JavaScript, we need to go ahead and put it between script tags, and then go ahead and paste our snippet number 16. And this just explains again that when we are on DE close pop-up promo, so it's listening there for that little X, and a click happens, we're going to go take it out of the view of the user. So let's say okay there. And now we're going to cross our fingers. We're going to update the post, and we'll refresh the front end of the site. Now, I've already visited the checkout page here. So hopefully within 3 seconds, we get our little slide in there, and there she is. We've added that abandoned cart offer for users that have only added something to the cart, but also went to the checkout page, but didn't end up the checkout process. So you have now a very dynamic site that is almost ready for prime time. And wow, guys, go high five the dog, say hi to your mom. You've done it. That was a pretty intense section there at the end with the additional code, but you've done fantastic. This is the end of this installment. And in the next one, we're going to be tightening up the last little bits of the site to be ready to go prime time. So thank you for sticking with us. Again, this is Roby with the Divi Engine team. I'm going to catch you guys in the next installment next week.